Welcome back, y'all. How's everybody doing out there in WBB land? We are back with an all-new video. We got a fun one, y'all. The 2025 WNBA Draft Tier List. That's right. We're going to go through the draft. We're going to break down each and every team. As you see on the bottom, we're going in alphabetical order from Atlanta to Washington. As you also see with the tiers, we go A, B+, B, B-. After B-, we're just going to give you an incomplete. Number one, you can't really grade these things until at least a year has gone by. That's always more efficient. But more than that, I don't want this to be an indictment on the players. This is more about what the teams did or did not do, in my opinion. But without further ado, let's get it popping. First up, we got the Atlanta Dream. They had the 18th overall selection and the 36th overall selection. Let's start in reverse order. Very rarely are you going to hear me say a draft pick in the 30s might make this roster. I really like this Taylor Theory pick. If you don't know, Ohio State, 6'1", every bit of 6'1", long, rangy wing. Not going to knock your socks off offensively, but she can knock down the three, really active hands, great defender, and is kind of that prototypical 3-and-D WNBA body. If you're drafting anyone in the 30s that has potential to make your team, I think you've done an excellent job scouting. As for 18th selection, they went to Hina Pau. They needed shooting. They added shooting. I don't know that Pau is a point guard at this level. I think she's more of a two guard. I would have preferred Sundell at this position. I was looking for Atlanta to add more of a classic facilitator. I think Haley Jones has one more season to see if it works behind Jordan Canada. They opted to go with that much needed shooting. We'll see. I don't know how much run Pau is going to get with this offense, but they did need shooting. They added a need. I'm going to give this one a B. I really liked it. You can't ask for too much with only two picks and the first one being the 18th pick. So they both added a need and got a player super late that I think could be very competitive making this roster. The Chicago Sky are up next, and the Sky Town are a very interesting team when we're talking about draft grades. I have to tell you, before I give you the grade, I already downgraded them before I knew who they were picking. And I'm going to explain that in a second, but let's talk about who they did draft. At number 10, they drafted Aisha Seuka, the 4'6'4", stretch 4. I think this is the prototypical WNBA type player. Been compared to Leo Phoebish a lot. I don't know that she's that athletic, but she's super young. And to be clear, I had her going 8th to Connecticut, so this is right in line with where I saw her and her draft potential. I like the pick. I like the player. They needed shooting. They needed spacing. They added it. Number 11, Haley Van Lith. They needed point guard depth. They needed somebody to learn from Courtney Vandersloot and be that next generation point guard that you can pair up with Camila Cardoso, Angel Reese. So I also like that from a team need and fit. Why I downgraded this team from Jump Street is because the trade they made to get up to 11, it totally nullified that 16th pick also. So Maddie Westbeld, if you hear people talking about, oh, and they got Maddie Westbeld. No, they didn't. They might have drafted her, but she cannot make the roster. I'll run it down for you. Ariel Atkins, Courtney Vandersloot, Beck Allen, Mo Jeff, Kia Nurse, Onyenwene, Liz Williams, Banham, Cardoso, Reese. They had 10 players that will absolutely make this roster headed into next year. So unless Seuka does not come over and not play, which I haven't heard that's the case, Maddie Westbeld can't make this team because they're signing Seuka, they're signing Haley Van Lith. So not only did they trade Minnesota a better pick in a better draft next year, they basically wasted the 16th overall pick. Forget about the Texas A&M guard at 22. Sadly, she was never making the roster. But, I understand you really wanted Haley Van Lith. Okay, well, that's how you're going to be graded on this draft. She better work out, or you kind of made a blunder here. Because at 16, Sundell was available. Pow Pow was available. Cheyenne Sellers was available. There was definitely guard depth, big guard depth, mind you, and shooting in Pow Pow's case. That was available at that 16 spot, and you wouldn't have had to relinquish a top 7 to 10 pick next year either. I'm giving Chicago a B-. I know that's a harsh grade. I do like the players they drafted. I just don't like in which way they went about it. So that's the grade. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? How do you think Chicago did in their draft? Headed to the Mohegan next, where the Connecticut Sun have what I think a pretty nice draft. They go Anissa Morrow at 7. They go Sanaya Rivers at 8, and then they get a nice sneaky pick in the last of the second round, Rhea Marshall out of USC. Let's start there. I like that pick. I think if she was a little bit more offensively skilled, had a little better touch, a little better footwork, I think she's a great prospect. I think at number 25 overall with the team that you currently have constituted, I think she could make the team, and that might be a nice little project in Connecticut. For the first rounders, Sanaya Rivers, Anissa Morrow, I think these are two of the more athletic players in the entire draft. They both have question marks. Anissa Morrow, will the size, 6'1", will that be a factor? I obviously think her motor is unparalleled. It's one of the highest in this class. Great nose for rebounding. Offensive game has come along. Will this be I think it's going to be a wing. I don't really think she can play in the post. Maybe she can against certain matchups. And then you got Sanaya Rivers. The question mark I have with her, will the offensive game translate? Will the scoring specifically translate? I don't know. Honestly, if you're going to ask me to say which one will correlate better earlier, Anissa Morrow, I think will have an easier time transitioning. Just the build, the size, what she does best, I think translates more readily. But Sanaya Rivers, obviously great athleticism, gonna be a good defender, rangy, and then get out in transition. I like what they did. I'm going to go ahead and give Connecticut a solid B grade. The Dallas Wings are up, and I think this was unequivocally the best draft of any team. Paige, you obviously that's a slam dunk number 1 selection. But then you get Isaiah James at 12. Frankly, I would have taken her at 6 in Washington. I think there's going to be several teams that regret passing on the services of Isaiah James. I am super high on this player. I have been for a very long time. 3-level scorer, super athletic, does things offensively you just don't see college players do that much. Always moving without the ball. Back screens, take you off the dribble, stop and pop, take you to the 10, shoot the 3. I love her game in Dallas. Now I was going to have Paige running the show. I'll be curious to see how much run she gets with this current team, but I love the pick. And then you get Madison Scott out of Ole Miss at 14. You kind of change the makeup of what Dallas has previously been known as, which is pretty much all offense, no defense. 6'2", rangy defender, wing, really strong. Like her body, obviously needs to continue to improve the offensive end, but these 3 players absolutely see their futures in Dallas. And then you get Quinterly and Vonleh at 27 and 31, and they can battle for those last couple roster spots. I really think they can. There's 7 on the roster right now. Obviously, there's going to be some training camp contracts handed out, but really, really fantastic draft, and we're going to do it. This is our first A of the draft, and it goes to the Dallas Wings. The Golden State Valkyries had their first ever draft, and they kind of pulled a shocker. Juste Utite out of Lithuania by way of France was the selection at number 5, 6-foot guard, teammates of the second overall pick, Dominique Malunga over there in France. They got Cheyenne Sellers at 17 and finished it off with Caitlin Chen. I have to be honest. I don't love what I'm seeing from Golden State. I didn't really care for the expansion draft. Don't really care for this, their first ever draft. I don't really know the direction. I think there's a little bit of front office tank going on already, which is kind of crazy to say. Golden State is going to be very bad. When they win less than 10 games this year, that's not going to be a surprise. I think part of the strategy long term is, hey, we get maybe Lauren Betts in the lottery next year. Maybe we get Juju Watkins the following year. And then maybe we can contend in 28, 29, 30. That said, with the draft and with the expansion draft, you've sold a bunch of tickets. It's going to be a slog. It's going to be a slog this first season. I didn't like the draft. We'll see. Utite, I don't know if she's going to come over. I don't think she is. They're going to go ahead and punt on that. Cheyenne Sellers, she fell really far. So as far as like a value pick there goes, I think that's good. Caitlin Chen, almost 0% chance of making this roster. So I'm going to give it an incomplete. I'm going to give it an I because I don't even think it's a B- if I'm being completely honest. Maybe Yotite proves me wrong in 2-3 years, but let's see. The Indy Fever are up next, and I think Amber Cox has come in to town and done a heck of a job. I was very high on Michaela Timpson. I had her as the 12th overall pick. She falls to 19. I think she's going to fit perfectly with a Caitlin Clark. Rim runner, super athletic, 6'2", wingspan, 6'10", every bit that long. Gets up and down the court. Defense, I love it. Then they follow that up with Bree Hall. Really strong, 6'1", rangy defender. They're adding some defense, but they're adding versatility. And then 33, Yvonne Egem. I don't think she's going to make the roster, but once again, very good mold for this Indy scheme and identity. I really, really like this draft, particularly when they don't have a first round pick and then their first pick comes at 19. I'm giving Indy a solid B+. The Las Vegas Aces, aka the former juggernauts of the WNBA. Interesting draft. They go Aaliyah Nye with the 13th overall pick. I like the pick. Addresses a need. 45% three-point shooter. Great. They go Harmony Turner, 35th. But if we go ahead and look at that cap sheet, very unlikely. It's 100% Harmony Turner is going to get one practice and get waived. I don't know that Nye can make this roster. You got Jewel Lloyd, Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie, Kia Stokes, Tiffany Mitchell, Meg, Dana Evans, Bell, Parker Tyus, and Kitley. The one training camp contract you have to battle with is Queen Egbo. And frankly, with Cheyenne Parker Tyus being out for most of the season, I think you got to keep Egbo. You got to keep some post in there to give Asia a break now and again. So I don't really think you can afford to keep Nye. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do, but we shall see. If they don't, I hope Nye gets a look somewhere else. Maybe in Connecticut, maybe in Washington. We'll see. But, I'm going to give Las Vegas an I. They, in my opinion, they basically didn't really have any room to make a draft. And, jury's out if this player will even make the squad. The LA Sparks are up next, and I was very eager to see what LA and Lynn Roberts would do with her first draft. And they go Sarah Ashley Barker with that 9th overall pick. I was surprised. I knew she was rising up draft boards. I did not think she was going to go that high. 6-foot guard, very athletic, really strong body, very physical play. I can see what they like about her. Extremely strong on-ball defender, held opponents to under 30% when she was the primary defender. We'll see about the shooting. We'll see about the two-hand finishing, but really strong player. They go Sanaya Fagan, which I really like at 21, and then they go Leitu King at 28. So they went a little bit everywhere. They did sign, as I'm recording this, Alyssa Utsby out of North Carolina, the 6'1", 6'2" combo guard, to a training camp contract. So there's going to be a battle for those final 1 or 2 spots. I like what they did. I thought they were going to go Haley Van Lith. They went Barker. I'm going to give this one a B. I don't really know what to make of it. Could be a great draft in a year. Could be a bad draft in a year. We're going to give it a B as for right now. The Minnesota Lynx are up next. And in fact, we're going with 3 teams right here, folks. Minnesota, New York, and Phoenix. They all basically punted on this draft. Minnesota makes the trade at 11. Frankly, they didn't have enough cash to even pay that 11th overall pick, so it makes sense. They draft the Russian Anastasia Kuso. That's a draft and stash, most likely. They already have 11 spots spoken for and only $67,000 left in cash. They're going to have a bunch of training camp contracts in there, maybe sign one more player. New York did the same last draft pick in the draft and stash. Phoenix didn't even have a pick. We're moving all these babies up in that I range. Didn't really have drafts for all intents and purposes. We head to the Pacific Northwest for our penultimate squad. That's, of course, the Seattle Storm. They had Dominique Malunga at number 2. I was very happy to see that they made the right decision. Incredibly high upside from Malunga. She cannot wait to get to the WNBA. I am super pumped to see her play and see how they utilize her in Seattle. What lineups will she play with? Ezzy? Will she play with NECA? What is it going to look like? And then they get Serena Sundell, falls all the way to 26. I was pretty stunned. I think that might have been the biggest stunner. I was not of the belief that she was going to go somewhere in that late first round, but I absolutely thought she was a top 15, 16 selection. She fell to 26, the first pick in the 3rd round, and I think they made out like bandits. Led the college ranks, 7.3 assists per game, 6'2", athletic, long, comes from a very athletic family. I love the pick. They finish it off with Connor and Hobbs, which, by the way, aren't probably going to make the team, but they're going to be great training camp players. They get into the system. They fit the mold of what Seattle was looking for. So I thought they did a really good job. I'm going to give them a B+. Seattle Storm, B+. Last but not least, we're headed to DC with the Washington Mystics holding 3 of the first 6 picks in the draft. And then they add Lucy Olson, Zay Green. They will battle it out for, I think, that last roster spot right now before the draft. They had 8 roster players that were likely making the team. Obviously, Citron, Kiki, Georgia Amore, they're all making it. If I had to lean, I would say Lucy Olson. She really fits that Carly Samuelson mold. Very similar player types. I think probably a more dynamic, athletic player, if I have to say. I like what they did. I really do like what they did. I don't know that I love what they did. I totally agree with the Citron and Kiki picks. Georgia Amore, I think, might be a little reachy at 6, but they needed a point guard. And I said this in my pre-draft analysis. Size will have a factor at the next level, but with her shot creation, with her three-point shooting, if she can go to a place that has good bigs, it could possibly be very beneficial for Georgia Amor. And she's going into a Washington team that has Shakira Austin, that has Aaliyah Edwards, that has Angsler, that has Sika Kone, now has Kiki Urieffin, Steph Dolson. So she's got a lot of weapons on that team to be successful. I really like Washington in the next 3 to 5 years. I think they're building something really nice. As for the grade here, I'm not going to give it an A. I'm going to give it a B+, a high B+. And there you have it, folks. That is my 2025 WNBA draft grade tier list. Let me know if you agree. I'm sure there's going to be some dissent. Actually, here's what I really want to know. I want to know 3 things in the comments. Number 1, let me know who you think won the draft. Number 2, give me a rookie of the year that's not named Paige Beckers or Dominique Malunga. And number 3, give me your biggest sleeper draft pick that will turn heads in 2025. And as always, like, share, and hey, hit that subscribe button. It's free.